All right, what's going on, everybody? Today I want to do something a little bit different than what I normally do. We're actually going to be reacting to SEATIN's video, his take on the whole revive farming situation. Now, this channel is not about to become a react channel. This is more of a special case, a one-off. Maybe there'll be those special cases in the future as well, but don't ask me to react to different videos or anything like that, because I more than likely will not be doing that. But the reason why I wanted to, talk about SEATIN's video here in particular is because I think a lot of people would be surprised to hear that I actually agree with the vast majority of what SEATIN is saying in his video, which for some, if you saw both videos or even just the titles of both videos, you'd be like, well, how is that possible? Because SEATIN's video title is MCOC players deserve better, Kabam's greedy tactics risk destroying MCOC. And the title of my video was biggest buff at MCOC ever. And it wasn't an April Fool's joke. That wasn't, just, I don't know, making fun of Kabam with this or something like that. I legit think it's, it's a big buff. So, I mean, how is it possible then that I agree with the vast majority of what SEATIN is saying here? Is it that I changed my mind or something, had a change of heart? Well, not exactly. Much like everything in life, it's not really as simple as, black and white. There's a lot more nuance to the subject. And I think it's outlined quite nicely here by SEATIN in many ways. So that's why I'm going to be digging into this. We're not going to be watching the full video, of course. If you want to watch the full video, you already know where to go. You can go to SEATIN's channel for that. But I've pulled maybe a dozen or so clips that I wanted to just play at different parts of SEATIN's video here. Before I actually hit play on this, do have to kind of give two warnings. Number one, it is going to be quite a more negative conversation, I would say, if you will, about MCOC. And listen, if you're just having fun, don't let me ruin your good time with MCOC. Just skip this video, honestly. The next one will be a lot more happy-go-lucky or whatever. The second thing is that I normally try to keep my channel more family-friendly. Fun fact, I only really did that because, like, the first alliance I joined, the alliance leader was like, oh, dude, my 4-year-old kid watches your videos. And I was like, oh, man. And then I kind of felt bad about saying different things, with the kiddo watching or whatever. So I was like, if I ever started another channel, it probably would not be kept as family friendly. And SEATIN doesn't keep his channel family friendly, so I mean, fuck it, right? We might as well join him on this one. Just a fair warning. All right, let's go ahead and start this up here.
First post, and I was like, dude, this is so much bullshit. It's so patronizing as well, the initial one.
Very. The initial post he's talking about, he just posted this video yesterday, but he talks about the first post and the second post, and totally agree. The first post, the way that they were trying to sell it was ridiculous. I'm not saying the second post is free of that either, but like, Jesus, dude, the first post was kind of bonkers, the way that they're trying to sell some of the changes here, like. I don't know. I guess the best way that I put it personally was in a live stream after posting the first video, where I did talk about it a lot in the first video, but in the live stream, I equated it to an episode of Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where one of the characters, Mac's mom, basically says, "Stop talking to me like I'm an asshole." And just the way the character says it is perfect and represents exactly how I felt when reading that first post. In every single way, and that is why in the video that I posted, the second video that I posted, I kind of went ahead and I skipped over the forum post because I didn't want to go down that road again. So that's why I kicked it off in the way I did, like this. This was just posted on the official forums, and it's a very long post detailing some new changes and why they're changing. don't worry, we're not going to read any of it. Word? Yeah, I didn't want to read any of it. I didn't want to go through that again and, you know, pick it apart again and talk about all the same reasoning that I don't necessarily agree with and all that stuff. I felt like I did that enough with the first one that I just wanted to get to the actual changes. Now, by the way, the video that is here, I'm only going to show another 10 seconds of it. Then we're going to get back to SEATIN's. This isn't reacting to my own video here, but I just want to illustrate that, yeah, it is still this same video of the biggest buff ever or whatever, but I also did put something at the start here that I think went overlooked by a lot of people, and let me show you. Words? Not on this channel. Let me show you in-game what's actually going to be changing, but before I do, I want to set a couple of expectations. This part. Number one, for some people, this is not going to be as good as 3.2.6 revive farming was. It just isn't. I tried to put that as early in the video within the first 30 seconds, so that, you know, hopefully people didn't skip that part of it. But I could also understand, even if you heard me say that, you know, that potentially being overshadowed by a title like this, and when, you know, emotions are involved and stuff like that, me saying that first part, just, yeah, people immediately just forget I ever said that. Yeah, for some people, it's not a good change. I was only illustrating that for quite a few people that I think it is going to be actually an improvement over the 3.2.6 revive farming. But there's definitely people that it's not an improvement, and I'm not trying to you know, change your opinion on it or anything like that. No, not at all. I hate the word influencer. The last thing I'd want to do is try to influence anyone into liking something that they didn't actually like. If you don't like the change, let Kebab know. Absolutely. Okay, anyway, let's get back to SEATIN's video here.
It's like, mate, I've been playing this game since Act 5 released and Uncollected debuted, and the rewards for Uncollected at the start were so goddamn spicy.
Now, here's one of the few times throughout this video that I'm going to go ahead and disagree with SEATIN, because he said the rewards for Uncollected were spicy. Dude, I actually think he's giving Kabam too much credit, because I think the rewards for that content are actually kind of dog shit. If you go into Act 5.2 and you know, look at the rewards here, because that's where Uncollected comes from, of course. The rewards here, they're not good, and I'm reminded of it every single time I do a new account challenge, that the rewards, they're just not good. I guess this is a new addition, this 3-star relic crystal, and I mean, that actually is kind of cool, man. I am looking forward to getting that the next time I do a new account run, which, yeah, I'll be doing more of those. I just can't tell you exactly one for the people asking. That is actually pretty damn cool, but the rest of the rewards, like, this stuff is trash. Even if you 100% clear the quest, we're talking about a 4-star rank up gem crystal. You know, I've seen the rewards that, or the champions that people are going into Act 5 with these days. It's like not even 4 stars at this point, it's 5 stars, you know. These rewards need a massive overhauling. I see, and I'm sure would agree with that this stuff needs an overhauling, but I'm just saying, like, I actually think the rewards weren't even that good at the time, even back then when that content came out. It was exciting getting that first progression title, because if you didn't know, the Uncollected actually was the first progression title, and then they retroactively added some other progression titles to some of the earlier content. But yeah, I don't know, it was for going through the Collector, such a, you know, a massive fight with a lot of BS to it. I don't know, I think the rewards are pretty terrible, honestly. Anyway, let's continue on.
Like, in comparison, over the years, because back in the day, they only used to have like 1 or 2 kind of Cyber Weekend events, and now they have like a Cyber Weekend event like every single month. There was one for like, like Valentine's Day. There's going to be the Deadpool's doubloons one and all.
Yeah, you bet your ass. Deadpool's going to be coming out of the shadows because it's springtime, and he's going to be cleaning you out. That is going to be happening. I think this month. I don't know. I don't think Kabam's announced anything yet, but I think that normally happens in April, right? So yeah, be on the lookout for that. There are a ton of those events. Without question, the game has added more and more ways, more and more special events to sell things, without a doubt. And it does impact like the relevancy of the rewards that are gotten in quests and things like that. Let's continue on though. I'm gonna skip ahead here a little bit.
And again, there are like so many of them at the moment, and this kind of like push for additional monetization as well also comes at a really weird time, right? Where they're trying to move the economy forward. There's so much stuff that they're going to be like milking the ever living shit out of this year.
Yep.
Stuff like 7-star champions, they have the whole relic system as well. Like you got 5 and 6-star relics. You also not only have the relics, you have getting like second copies because the awakened abilities on a lot of the top tier ones.
Yeah. Basically, there's a ton of stuff that Kabam is selling. But Seatin, bro, how are you using light mode in 2023 on Twitter? This is burning my retinas just to look at. But otherwise, no, I totally, completely agree. Like, there's a million things for Kabam to sell. This is just a shortened list of some of the larger things, of course, which is not all inclusive because tweets are never all inclusive. But there's also like Ascension that I'm pretty sure Kabam is going to make a few bucks off of for like the lower level champs, in addition to selling like the brand new 7-star champions and things like that. So yeah, there's a million things for Kabam to sell, large and small, even going down to the most insignificant of things to sell, like the the emotes in Battlegrounds, which, like, fair enough. I'm not saying it's a problem to try to monetize certain things in the game, but to also like paint that picture of, well, the content's at risk or something like that, is just kind of silly. But let's continue on. We're going to skip ahead once again a little bit here.
It's so weird to me that Kabam are going in from this angle of like, oh guys, like all the future content is in jeopardy right here.
Yeah.
Unless we make more money selling revives. It's like,
Yeah.
Fuck off. You've got so much stuff to sell. It isn't even funny. And you're going through, or about to go through, one of the biggest economic changes, one of the biggest shakeups that you've done in like the last 5 years. The big migration from 6-star to 7-star champions.
Yeah, there's we don't need to go through the whole list again, but yeah, like there's so much money coming in from all of the new things that are being sold. Like champion crystals, they're sold at a very low chance to get what you're looking for like $10 a pop out of cav crystals, and whatever is going to be in the future for 7 stars, and I don't know, there's just so many ways to make that money. And if the content didn't exist for players to go through, then there would be no reason for people to get these champions. So I don't think that the content is at risk just because of not enough people spending on revives. I don't agree with that at all. That's never anything that I said in any of the videos that I made, either the more negative video or the more positive video. You're never going to hear me be like, oh, come on, guys, but Kabam is a company and they need our money on revives. No, I don't think that is true. I don't think that's true at all. So yeah, I once again agree with everything Seatin is saying here. Let's go ahead and just skip forward a little bit more here, though.
The Apothecary, which is the new kind of revive farming map, being open 5 days a week. It's now open 7 days a week.
Wow.
Which I kind of feel like this was already planned. Like they knew some outrages coming, so they're like, "Oh, okay. Well, we got this like thing. How about if we just say we're gonna, we know outrage is coming, but let's just put it as 5 days to start off with." There.
I mean, yeah, that's exactly. Pretty sure I said something very similar in the first video that I posted, and I still feel that way. It feels like a negotiation tactic a lot of the times where there's like a first offering to the players of like, hey, well, this is kind of shit, but do you accept? You know, and if players are like, okay, well, then they're like, whew, okay, all right, fine, we don't need to offer them actually anything good. And then they come back with the next offer that seems much better, and often is not that much better. I do still think that the update is actually good, but we're gonna get to that later on. There's a lot more of this that I want to go through. But yeah, I absolutely think it's a negotiation tactic. I don't think that's the way it goes down every single time, and it's impossible to say in which cases something like that is being used or not being used. But it happens so regularly that it's hard to imagine that is not something that is actually happening. That is not an actual tactic. All right, let's actually once again skip ahead a little bit.
Of what do you want players to do to actually farm revives? A very boring side quest that has no content, going to provide no dopamine.
Very boring,
incredibly repetitive every single day. You can't just auto complete it. It becomes like a manual chore to do.
Yeah.
And also arena. And this is like the second thing they talk about as well. It's like, how is grinding for units any different than grinding for revives? This is different because, simply put, summoners are meant to have access to units that are provided in specific measured ways. Summoners are not meant to have access to revives in the current overtuned capacity. Additionally, most unit farming requires engaged gameplay, such as in the arena. Mate, I've played arena on and off for, 7 years. I don't think I've been engaged once.
Seed, are you serious? You've never been engaged in the arena, the best content ever?
Shit is so boring.
What? Oh my god. No, I mean, I agree. Of course, the arena is not engaging content, which, I don't know, some people might even be surprised to hear me say, like, oh man, yeah, the arena is not the most exciting content ever, even though I've played a lot of arena. I don't play arena these days. I haven't really played arena for the last year and a half. Well, I mean, sort of. I did still play arena on streams leading up until the release of Battlegrounds. But the way I always thought about arena, even during my most active days, was always just like some background noise. Kind of the same way that, I don't know, people get like those fidget spinners. Do people still get those even? I don't know. I never had one, never will have one. I play video games. That's what I use to occupy my, satisfy my ADD. And yeah, I was basically just playing arena while doing other things, while having conversations with people, while watching movies, while, listening to podcasts, whatever, right? Anything else in life. Anytime anyone ever asks for advice on the arena, first piece of advice, take your mind off of the arena. Otherwise, you're going to go insane. You go absolutely insane. There is a certain quality to the arena. Actually, I think let me play a little bit more of SEATIN's video here. I think I wanted to let a little bit more of that run.
You're literally just sat there, forced to grind units if you are a free-to-play player, while your corpse is decaying, and you've just got to do it over and over again. Like, it's so boring. There's no dopamine. There's no sense of challenge. You just go in, you just tap the screen, you 10, 15 combo the opponent, and you just do it again and again and again.
Yeah, so, I mean, there are different games that have these grind elements to them, and this is kind of what I wanted to say about it, is that I'm okay with certain grind elements in games. And clearly I was okay, with the arena. It kind of has to do with the rest of the game, though. Like, let me shift to like a different game as an example. I played World of Warcraft way back in the day when it first came out. And a couple expansions in, I got bored of that game, stopped playing, right? And then all these years later, they announced that they were going to be releasing these classic servers where they were going to release the original game again. I already had the experience to know that certain parts of that game were going to be very grindy, very monotonous, very mind-numbing, all that stuff. But I didn't care because I was so excited about the rest of the game, the parts of the game that I enjoyed, and the rest of the game that I liked, that I was like, dude, bring it on. I'll face any level of grind right now. Of course, until you hit a burnout, until you hit that wall of like, okay, yeah, this is no longer fun anymore. But yeah, I mean, most games that I play, they do have some sort of grind element to them. Not all. Dota 2 is like, the other game that I've probably put the most time into. And there's not really too much of a grind element there, but the point is, it kind of comes down to like how fun is the rest of the game. And if I'm super excited about the rest of the game, I'm okay with, kind of pushing through the grind aspects, because I know I'm just going to have like, more fun later on, and it's kind of that trade-off that I'm okay with. But when the rest of the game also feels like it's, not that engaging, not that interesting, then the mind-numbing parts, it just like highlights it that much more that, this is not fun to do, and won't be doing it. So yeah, you're not really gonna like, I haven't touched the arena outside of streaming in like a year and a half. There might be some streams here or there where I still do it just to be able to have more of a conversation, but ultimately what I spend my time on in MCOC these days is Battlegrounds. But we're gonna come back to more of this stuff later. Let's continue on. And actually, I do just want to point out that, I also think that the Apothecary, once again, this was the first video I put out. I never thought it was going to be that interesting or engaging or fun either. So again, I totally agree with SEATIN on it. This is what I said originally. This also makes for a poor experience. The Apothecary, I think, is terrible. By the sounds of it. I guess I technically haven't gone through it yet, but the numbers are simple enough to break down that this sounds like absolute trash. Yeah, I mean, trash in the like the rewards for it, and in the not so engaging gameplay side of it, all around. I don't think the Apothecary is good. Again, we're gonna circle back to the points that I do like and why I did think it was a good buff later on, but I never did, and still don't feel like the Apothecary is a good quest. Anyway, let's move on. Let's get back to SEATIN's video here.
But the entire purpose of this change and arena and the way that you fundamentally farm revives is to make the experience so horrible, so insufferable, that you go, fuck this, I don't want to do this, I want to do the new content, I'm just going to pay, I'm going to pay for units, I'm going to buy my revives, and I'm just going to go in, because fuck spending my entire weekend, fuck spending my whole week just grinding arena, it's so boring, I've been crushed, soul crushed by arena for years, and that's it, that literally is the reason,
Yeah, I agree, and I would take it a step further and say it's also the reason why Alliance Quest is so boring as well, and the reason why I haven't stepped foot in Alliance Quest in a year and a half, not even lower difficulties of it. Alliance War, same thing, I haven't stepped foot there. Alliance War is definitely more engaging, there's a lot more strategy involved and stuff like that. It's not for everybody, but you could at least argue that, like, there's a lot more to it. But like Alliance Quest, it's the same thing over and over. It's very rewarding, so I understand why so many people play it, and of course I played it for a very long time, but it is totally mind-numbing and boring and just intrusive to your day, and gives off that same feeling of like, well, fuck this, man. I don't want to do this anymore, so I'm not going to play AQ anymore. And instead, yes, I will just buy an offer that will cover the rewards that I would have gotten from playing the mode. And of course, some people, do both because, again, it is very rewarding. Just like the arena is very rewarding. It's just, yeah, they're boring, There's a lot of aspects to the game that, like I said, I'm just not into. When it comes to the monthly event quest, I don't really play it. I did a single clear of Thronebreaker just to check out the new champions. I found that quest to be dreadfully boring. You will not see me be clearing Cavalier or Uncollected or or auto fighting any of the lower difficulties, nothing like that. The side quest, I didn't touch it this month. I didn't do any of the incursion stuff. I don't know, it's kind of hit or miss for me. I actually do kind of enjoy the side quests sometimes, some of like the bite-sized content, and the way it's delivered, I think is fun. Some months less fun for sure. Some months I don't like it at all. But yeah, as far as like the regular monthly style content, the side quest is one of the areas that I participate in, but I pretty much just play Battlegrounds. And fun fact, I'm actually in SEATIN's alliance here, and we play about the same amount of MCOC, it turns out. You can see I'm here number 18, where SEATIN's account there is number 20. We have a very similar number of points towards the event. So yeah, we actually play a very similar amount of MCOC in general. But anyway, let's go ahead and get back to some of this video here. Let me go ahead and skip along a little bit. Yeah, let's go ahead a little bit here.
I can use AI to filter in all the costs and do all the fucking calculations for me to figure out that you're probably pretty far from the red line.
Yeah, so I mean the only thing that I would say here is I don't really trust AI with stuff like that. I know AI is immensely powerful and getting more and more powerful by the day, not even the week, but the day. AI is crazy powerful. I just don't trust it enough with calculations, but that's besides the point. You don't need any sort of calculations to understand that MCOC is like the highest grossing game for Netmarble, which Netmarble owns Kabam. Now Kabam, I'm sure that even though they're owned by Netmarble, they have to produce enough of a profit for the rest of the studio too, and with other games and stuff like that. But the point is, MCOC, it rakes it in, man. It makes an absolute shit ton of money. More than some of these other games combined, some of the other top games from Netmarble combined. Yeah, it absolutely does make a ton of money. We're gonna go ahead and skip ahead just a little bit here, though.
Buy a lot of this stuff, man. I think it's just absolute bullshit. And I think as well, just from a general community growth and user acquisition standpoint, Marvel Contest of Champions is mega fucking complicated. It's probably...
Dude, so complicated of a game. It's insane. Before we get into exactly what SEATIN's saying here, I think one of the biggest problems of MCOC is just how it has scaled. I don't know if this game was really designed from the start to be able to, be played as much as people have played it for as long as people have played it all these years. I don't know if it was, I don't know if that was in their, original game design to be able to, be ready for that. And just the way that the game is scaled in every single direction, in every single way, from looking at the the fight UI and the different icons, and how some of them are filling up the entire screen at this point. Titania, I'm looking at you. To just all the interactions and how each champ has to try to one up the champ before it, and it's crazy how complicated MCOC is.
One of the probably like top most 100 complicated or complex games of all time to really understand everything that's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to rank it or whatever, but it's extremely complicated without a doubt.
If you look at, let's say, 100 of those champions, maybe 150 now, they're an absolute fucking car manual. There is...
Dude, seriously. I think C and I, funny enough, man, C and I, we're very different. But I almost think about us as like a double helix or so, like kind of a shape where it's like we're very different people, but then we like hit the same points from like a different angle. And then, once again, very different, but then hitting the same points from a different angle. Because funny enough, C and I think we both started playing MCOC around a very similar time, and we both stepped back from MCOC around a somewhat similar time as well. Which, I don't know, it could be a coincidence, or it could be a major sign to Kabam of like, well, the two channels that have the most subscribers that regularly upload MCOC content both stepped back. Maybe there's a problem here, but maybe it was just a coincidence with other things going on. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, let's just continue on, I guess.
So much stuff that you got to look through just to figure out the fundamentals of like, oh, I can't hit into Mordo when he's stunned. And as a new player, you're just going to make so many mistakes and die, and then not have access to all of these resources that you need to actually learn how to play the game. Because that's where the real learning experience for Marvel Contest of Champions comes from: getting into content, getting your ass beat, and
pretty
failing.
much.
And there is so much we need to do as a game, as a community, to help people catch up and impart them all of this knowledge from all of the champions. And then on top of that, you've got like 1,000, 2,000 plus nodes. There's so many nodes.
Yeah, I don't know how many nodes are in this game. I never did a count, but regardless of how many there are, because of the way that they can kind of pile on with one another, there's essentially an infinite number of, ways that you could screw over players with nodes, which I'm not even saying is always bad, right? Like, there needs to be a challenge for people to face. But yeah, of course, it is incredibly overwhelming, not just for new players. New players, returning players, anyone who doesn't like live and breathe MCOC. Like, I still play most days. I mean, I don't really play off of stream these days, just because, I have more fun playing the game while streaming. So if I'm not streaming that day, well, I also probably didn't play MCOC that day. But I still stream most days, and I can't keep up with all the new stuff that's being added. Like, I can't even come close. So I can't even imagine someone just downloading the game and, trying to figure all of this stuff out. It's so overwhelming. And then the returning players who felt like they had a good grasp on things, but maybe took a break, maybe, lost interest, but, of course, kept all their account info and come back to the game, and they look at it and it's just like, dude, this is what is happening. Now, like, I think when, like I said, I think Seatin and I, we kind of started playing the game at the same time. And back then, the game, I would say, was, like, too simple. Which, I mean, that was already, like, a year into it. I know prior to that, the game was even more dead simple. There were no awakened abilities. There were no masteries in the game. Which, even though masteries are kind of a simple-ish thing on the surface, if you're familiar with other games that have similar systems, there's something to MCOC that complicates it when looking at certain masteries like Assassin, and it has to do with ability accuracy. And ability accuracy, by the name of it, okay, it sounds like the ability is not going to hit, right? It's ability accuracy. But then it has all these other interactions, some positive and some negative, where like you think this is just a mastery to help you, but then you accidentally disable a certain node that like you needed to get rid of, like flux dispersal, I think is the name of it, right? Where you need to heavy attack the opponent in order to like clear their damage reduction essentially. And like there's like this node could make it so that you don't clear that. Like what? I don't know, man. It's just, not only is it complicated, it's not very intuitive. It's, oh man, there's so damn much to this game, and it is very difficult to get into for new players. And like SEATIN said, it's basically a trial by fire type of game where the only way to learn is to go and get your ass kicked, which by itself I would say is not bad. I think it's fun kind of figuring out some of that stuff. If I didn't think it was fun, I wouldn't be playing. So most of you guys probably also think it's fun if you're playing MCOC as well. But the not so fun side of it is there's not enough there to really help players along, help them recover. Something that I said in the first video that I posted on the whole revive situation, when I was saying how shitty of a quest the Apothecary is, was saying that like it's, I don't know, a lot of the content that Kabam comes up with, or the changes, it's kind of like, it's kind of, I get the sense that Kabam would want to do more, but they're doing what they can in like the more simplified way just to get a change out the door. But like an actual good change would be if you're in like a story content and you get your ass kicked by like a certain champion that you've never come across before. You know, like an NPC comes and helps you and tells you like, oh, you know, this champion has this ability, so try to fight it in this way. And here, let me give you a little boost. Let me restore some of your health for you. Something like that, right? Something that other games have in many ways, of just like a little bit of an assist from the game. There's not really any of that here. It's just the assist is a cluttered inventory full of largely useless things, but also filled with some very useful things that if you know where to look, then yeah, you'll be able to find them and get through the quests. But it's such a headache for a new player trying to figure all that stuff out. Anyway, let's go ahead and continue here.
And this is, I think, one of the biggest frustrations that people feel, because it's so easy as a progressing player just to hit a champion that you don't know how to fight, or a node and a champion combination that you're like, you maybe don't understand, or maybe don't have a good counter for.
Why is APOC stunning me right now?
And you get your ass handed to you, and your entire stash gets drained. And then you're like, I feel like shit. I got no units. I got no revives. Like, okay, what's my choice now? It's just, you know, do this daily quest for like another 2 months and replenish the stack and overflow, and just, you know, grind arena, spend all my weeks and weekends doing that. And that's not where the enjoyment comes from the game. That's not where the fun is.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. Like I said, I don't play the arena. I've never thought it was the most fun or engaging piece of content, and I don't think the Apothecary is any different. The part that I kind of disagree with a lot of people who really like 3.2.6 is that I also think that quest is dog shit, and that's kind of where I'm coming from. Is I think that quest is shit, and I think the quest that is replacing it, the Apothecary, is also shit. It's a lot of the other changes that are going through that I actually like, but I'm going to kind of circle back to some of those in a minute here as well, because I definitely want to keep going through, you know, SEATIN's video. We're gonna jump ahead a little bit here.
And there's a lot of good content. It's just the amount as well of content as a new player, when you look at stuff, dude, from the lens of somebody that's like never played this game before, and everything they've got to barrel down. It's like, oh, okay, you just You just beat like Thanos. Well, you've got like what is it, 100 more quests to get to until you're
A lot of
in
quests.
friggin' book 2 act 8. Like there's so much stuff. Like every single act, every single chapter as well has 6 quests. You've got 24 in each one of those. There's a lot of challenges that await many players in Act 6. Act 7 is what is it? Just a really interesting way to explore the synergy of your roster with certain nodes there. But I don't like Act 7 because it's too much reading.
Yeah, exactly. It's way too much reading. I think it's a good thing that players have so much content to go through, all the story content. If I downloaded a game and saw like, oh man, I'm having fun with this, and there's like how many more of these acts and chapters to go through, I'd be stoked. I'd be pumped. Um, I mean, there is the other side of it too, of feeling like if you wanted to catch up, well, it's gonna take a while to catch up, but still, I would just be stoked that there's all this content. But I completely agree with like the deeper you get, it just becomes reading a novel every time you want to, play MCOC. And I don't know, man. I just don't really enjoy it. I don't enjoy it at all. Like at this point, I have caught up on the story content, but like, dude, I was just dragging my feet the whole time because I don't enjoy Act 8, don't enjoy Act 7. I enjoyed it a little bit more when there was more of that community drive to get through with like the Legends runs and paying attention to like, oh man, what is the best way that people are getting through this content? Well, let's really try to like figure out exactly all those best ways to get through and have a bit of fun racing one another and stuff. And like that stuff is gone, and it was just filled with words. It was like the gameplay experience went down, and they were like, "Oh man, we can't have that. What are we gonna fill it with? Words?" And man, I just not into it. Not into it. I much prefer some of the earlier quests that, like when playing on a new account, I still have an incredible amount of fun with. It's also more fun for a multitude of reasons, including like, just a more rapid rate of progression, getting to play with a different set of champs, going through that content versus the champs you went through originally. But it's also just more of a pick up and play experience without having to read a book to get through. All right, let's continue on, skipping ahead here a little bit and seeing this video again though.
Well, if you kind of just step back from, your knowledge perspective and maybe your like 5 to 7 years of playing this game and really understand like how overwhelming a lot of this feels, and also the fact that a lot of players will not have been there when new champions have debuted
Yep.
and don't necessarily understand the fundamentals of fighting them. Like it might be Mephisto. You might be like, oh, okay, why am I taking fire damage? Oh, he's got fire aura. And then like knowing how to mitigate and play around that. Because I think to a lot of new players as well, if you don't understand the mechanics of certain champions and there's not stuff to teach you about the certain mechanics of champions, you're just like, oh, I hit Mephisto and take fire damage. Well, that's a load of bullshit. I'm hitting Electra and I'm taking like clapback damage. That's a load of bullshit. Something like Killmonger as well.
Yeah, there's just a ton of champions in the game, and he's right that there's not really a whole lot to teach players. Again, it's a trial by fire sort of situation, and I think part of what makes this so difficult is that there's like nearly 250 champs in the game, and they're all available all the time. Not necessarily for you to play. Like, I'm not saying every person has every single one of the champs, but you will come across them in some sort of content. And that doesn't seem to be changing anytime at all, anytime soon. Compare that to certain other games where, like, let's I've compared MCOC to card games before, and card games, you think like 250 champions is a lot. Dude, the card games have like hundreds and hundreds and thousands of cards, and I mean, you could read them as you're playing, so already that's a bit of a difference. But even still, like, just to kind of memorize that stuff so you didn't have to read it every time. What some of those games do is they'll reduce down the pool of playable cards, for like different sets that are released, and that greatly narrows down what you have to store up here just to have a good time playing the game. It's been ages since I've played a Pokemon game, but I don't think Pokemon puts every single Pokemon in their newest releases, which I don't know. It's probably like a drawback for some, which I totally get. It would be a drawback for many people if, like, not every champion was included at all times in MCOC or something, but because of the complexity of these champions and just certain little things that you need to understand about them, sometimes not obvious things at all, like, why did this champion go unstoppable? Oh, it's because they gained how many prowess? How the hell was I supposed to know that? Like, it's so hard to keep track of all this stuff. And I don't think that's going to be changing anytime soon. Kabam, like, the larger the catalog of champions that are being sold at any given point in time, like, the more money that can be made. And yeah, like, this content already exists with all of these champions in it, and there's Alliance War, where players can put down any of the champions that they've already gained. So I think the game is always going to include all the champions. It's just, it makes it like the mental burden of trying to keep up with it all is so incredibly high. All right, let's go ahead and skip ahead a tiny bit more here, though.
Free to play, like, when it's good and you're just flying through content and you really feel like you're getting better at your characters, you're learning how to fight all these new nodes and stuff, it feels great. It feels so good. But what I dislike about the free-to-play account is the deeper I get into the game, even with this revive farming method, the more I'm like, oh, okay, well, like, I can't really play for, like, another week because I need to replenish my resources. And I get that's, part of doing a free-to-play grind and challenge, but it makes you get so bored in that time that you're like, you forget what, like, actual content is like, and then you just you just don't want to, like, come back to it. You have all these days where you're doing filler content. It's like a shit anime that has way too much filler episodes, right? You're watching it and you're like, oh, well, this is bullshit, but then there's like one banger episode and you're like, oh god, that was really, really fun.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but the older you get, the more you realize that that's kind of what life is. And not everything has the highs and just stays there. In fact, I think, like, nothing does almost, except for, like, absolute gems that exist. And yeah, like, stuff that doesn't have any sort of filler to it is so incredibly rare. I mean, I used to go to, like, theme parks and have fun going on all those rides, and then I realized 99% of the time while I was there, I was just baking under the hot sun in a line waiting to actually have fun, So I'm like, I haven't been to a theme park in, like, 15 years, maybe longer, something like that, It's just not fun. But even everything down to, like, relationships, right? Sometimes you go out and have this exciting time, and then the other times it's just at home, watching Netflix. Actually, I mean, I kind of prefer to stay at home, watch Netflix, but it's besides the point. Like, everything does have these highs and lows, the ebbs and flows of life right there. But I still understand it. Like, there's a balance to that filler content, and when it feels like that balance is off, then it does make the overall experience feel significantly worse, and especially after playing the game for a more extended period of time, it feels like it's a lot more filler content than the content that you have fun with. So I think it's totally fair what Seatin's saying. I'm just saying, like, yeah, unfortunately that's in many ways just life, bro. I'm actually gonna go back in time a little bit here to this previous clip that I was showing, because I cut it a little too early. So let me play out the rest of of this portion of the video real quick.
Longer as well, but there's just so many, like, the game does such a poor job at properly training and educating the players, because you've got all of this soulless content, this soulless grind that doesn't teach you anything aside from just being there in the moment, just tapping the screen and just, you know, collecting your arena units.
Yeah, once again, totally agree with that, and that's the second to last clip that I'm going to show in the video. I want to talk now a little bit more as to why I agree with, like, virtually everything that SEATIN was saying here, right? Outside of, like, using light mode on Twitter or something like that. But, you know, I agree with all that stuff, right? So how is it then that that I do think that this is a massive buff? Well, a lot of SEATIN's points there were that, you know, it's a ton of filler content. It's not very interesting. Doesn't do a good job of teaching players this extremely complicated game, and so on. And that's kind of how I look at 3.2.6 pre-nerf. There's nothing to it. It was just this content that you auto fight through. It doesn't teach players anything other than, oh, let me just run this over and over and over again. This, you know, mindless, soulless content. And that's not really being changed all that much with the apothecary. Not for the better, at least. Like, of course, there was an infinite number of revives in 3.2.6 versus 1 a day in the apothecary. Like, that's the big change there. Which of course is going to be worse. Like I said at the beginning of the video, it's going to be worse for a lot of players. And the apothecary, I think it is just dog shit. It's not good content. You know, again, I see it as like kind of the simplest thing that could be utilizing the current technology of the game to kind of make up for taking revives out of 3.2.6. That's all I see it as. The part that I think is the massive buff is just how good getting the level 2 revives out of you know, the 22-hour solo events are, because you don't have to play the mindless you know, soulless content to get revives out of you know, something like hero use. Even like the arena event, I looked at it, you do still have to play arena to get the, you know, the 3rd milestone in the arena wins event, which I think should be updated, by the way, because there's like there was something here. Here we go. This 3-day event, battlegrounds and arena wins. I really think that the solo arena event should be also battlegrounds. I thought it was, to be honest. So yeah, I hopefully that gets updated so that you don't have to touch the arena at all if you don't want to. But even still, getting the 3rd milestone with 6-star champions, it takes a grand total of 5 rounds, and 5 rounds of like easy fights, because you don't have to be on a streak or anything like that, right? So 5 rounds, still mindless, soulless content for sure, but other things like hero use here, you just get to play the game however you want. And you can go out and actually accomplish some sort of, you know, progression and, you know, something that will, you know, teach you about the game and stuff. And it is just 1 revive, and, you know, it's certainly not enough, especially for the newer players looking to, you know, learn more about the game and stuff. But, you know, I think it's going to be a big change for the Thronebreaker and Beyond players that are going to get the level 2 revive here. The level 1 revive, I just don't think is enough for almost any champions in this game, outside of like very busted champs like Hercules, that it doesn't matter how much life you revive them with, because he's got a 45-second immortality that you can finish off any opponent with, right? In like standard content, at least. But like the majority, like a lot of players don't have Hercules. A lot of players do have Hercules, but a lot of players don't. So like a 20% revive for the players that don't have Hercules is, I don't know, man. It's it's like a kick in the nads and get back in there, slugger. You know what I mean? Like it's not anything that helpful. But changing that to a level 2 revive, where at least it gives you 40% of your health versus 20%, I think that's huge. I think being able to stack up the two different types of revives so that like honestly every day I'm not looking to progress, so I could just accumulate on those days where I'm not necessarily looking to make that progression leap, and then play when I am ready, and just play things like Battlegrounds in the meantime, or whatever other area of the game you enjoy, because I know Battlegrounds are not for everybody. But yeah, and like the level 1 revives, they don't just come through the apothecary. You can get them through in like a slow build up of, going through monthly content, things like that too. But yeah, just having that, I don't know, man, it just feels so good to me. I did say at the start of the video of this last one here, if we back it up 10 seconds, it's really going to be changing. But before I do, I want to set a couple of expectations. Number one, for some people, this is not going to be as good as 3.2.6 revive farming was. And it's just not, I still think that is absolutely the case. And again, I'm not trying to change anyone's mind on that. If you're one of those people, then again, share how you feel. But the way I kind of see it is like this crude image of a pie is that represents the MCOC player base as a whole. I think that part in red represents the player base that really takes advantage of the 3.2.6 infinite revives. It's still a ton of revives, but with the number of people that play this game, I still feel like that's a very small part of the player base that is in that content getting those revives. I don't even think the quest is good for a lot of players who are in there, like newer players. I'm saying, of course, it's good for players that are building up their stash to take on, the Eternity of Pain or whatever else, that's going to be draining those revives, unquestionably. But for a lot of players, I almost feel like it's a bit of a trap, the same way that early on you might think the best way to get through content is to, use a bunch of revives or something like that, when, in reality, the better thing to do would be to take the units that you got from, the early story content and spend those on masteries. That way you're strong enough that you're not going to need to use as many consumables to get through quests. It's different. It's a different situation, but I'm just saying I think players do fall into those traps. Not to mention the vast number of players that have no idea that 3.2.6 is a good source of farming revives. If you're on YouTube, you're already in like this, you're in the know of a lot more than what the average player is in the know of. A buddy of mine, like real life friend, the only one that I know that plays MCOC outside of the people that I've met through playing MCOC, of course. He started, years after I did. He's like Cavalier level. I think he's most of the way to Thronebreaker, something like that. He had no idea that revives came out of 3.2.6 until like a few months ago when I told him like, oh yeah, I'm getting ready to do like my first Eternity of Pain path or something like that, and farming revives. And he was like, wait, what? Farming revives? Like it's not that obvious to a lot of players outside of the very small portion of the players that does seek this information and is on YouTube and all this stuff. So for all of those players, and for all the players that don't want to go through 3.2.6 and don't want to, go into the arena to get the units to buy level 2 revives, now there is this, free source of them in the 22-hour solo events. And it's kind of like, I don't know, Like, of course, getting them like once a day is going to be significantly less than the potential infinite from a quest. But I guess the way I look at it is like, well, there's potentially infinite from the arena, except I don't want to play the arena. I don't think it's fun. I don't think it's engaging. So I'm not going to be playing the arena anymore. But how else do I get units? Well, it would be nice if there was just an alternative where even if it's not infinite, they're, giving like a steady stream of those units. And instead of units in the arena, it is revives in a quest or like a steady stream of revives through other means. And that's why I think this change is going to be so big for so many people. Is they're going to avoid all the mind-numbing stuff, play the areas of the game that they want to play, as well as collecting the revive along the way. And this revive, it always existed here, and many players got revives here. But due to the way that it was only level 1 revives, and already having the cap being so small on level 1 revives, and the fact that they only give 20% health versus 40% health, yeah, I don't know. I still see that as a massive buff, and probably the biggest buff that we've ever gotten in MCOC. You could look at other buffs of like reward updates and think, oh yeah, this was a big buff, but they're like temporary buffs. Because rewards, they seem big today, and 6 months down the line, you're like, dude, these rewards suck. I don't even want to do this because the rewards aren't even good enough. You know what I mean? Versus having this source of revives available that will be there for all future content and beyond. It's kind of the same way that I say investing in masteries is like a permanent investment. Like this is like a permanent addition to the game that will give access to clearing more quests. And it still will be more inconvenient for players that want to, blitz content as fast as humanly possible of like the Abyss or Eternity of Pain. But this content is so rare. This content comes around like once a year, like at best. Like what year did the Abyss come out? And the next thing on its level, Eternity of Pain, came out how much time after that? This content is so few and far between, and the absolute vast majority of the other content in the game, like story content, or even if there's a particularly difficult side quest or a monthly event quest or something like that, players are going to have access to continue playing the game in a way that they want to be playing the game just by picking up the improved higher level revive from the update. So yeah, that's why I consider it to be the biggest buff in MCOC ever. And I still stand by that while agreeing that there's a lot of shit in this game, and more that like a single video can't cover all of the issues in MCOC. When I stepped back from, all Alliance activity and stuff like that, at this point, nearly a year and a half ago, I basically said that was like the straw that broke the camel's back in a way, But, of course, there's so many other issues in this game, from the obvious stuff of like, dude, bugs, come on, right? Bugs that have existed for so long, or cheaters, or you name it. There's tons of issues, but yeah, like this is not going to fix it all. But I don't know. Still feels like a good update, even though I think a lot of the game is kind of in a shit state and needs a lot of work. But yeah, that's why I both think this is a good update to the revives, and why I feel it's better than having 3.2.6 for me. Again, not for everybody, maybe not for you. Voice your opinion if it's not good for you. And I'll leave you with one last clip here from SEATIN.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do smash that like button. Let me know any thoughts you have in the comment section below. Take care, and I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day.